I'm Rich Garvin with Chatham Today, and I'm here at the Monomoy National Wildlife Refuge with Refuge Manager Matt Hillman. Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Very well, thanks. Welcome to Monomoy.
Well, thank you. It's a beautiful place out here on a beautiful day. And to get started, I'd like to ask you about your background. I mean, where were you born? What training did you have? College? That sort of thing.
Sure thing. I'm actually born and raised in Massachusetts. I'm from Southborough, Massachusetts. Born in Framingham, moved to Southborough when I was young. I attended University of Massachusetts in Amherst when I was in college there. I had a lot of projects working with wildlife. I went to Costa Rica, for example. I tagged leatherback sea turtles in Costa Rica, and I watched them as they migrate through satellite tags up to Block Island, actually. And that's kind of what got me really interested in the refuge system and also in wildlife habitat in general and wildlife research, was that experience in Costa Rica.
Excellent. Now, how long have you been working for the system?
So after undergrad, I was in graduate school. I finished up in 2012. I went to Virginia Tech for graduate school, and I researched shorebird ecology and management at Cape Lookout National Seashore. After that, I graduated with a master's in science. I then went to California, where I was working at Hopper Mountain National Wildlife Refuge Complex, and that was based out of Ventura. And that was part of the California Condor Recovery Program. Wow. So I have quite a lot of experience with threatened and endangered species management, which is a good fit here for Monomoy National Wildlife Refuge.
Okay, you say endangered and threatened species. Are there any endangered species here on Monomoy?
Sure, we have the roseate tern, which is an endangered nesting bird that utilizes our nesting habitat on South Monomoy Island. Okay. And that's one of the largest endangered species we have. We also have piping plovers, which is a federally threatened species as well.
Know them very well.
Many people know piping plovers very well, for sure.
And what are you doing to increase the habitat and nesting viability of these birds?
Good question. It's very timely, too. One of the things that we'll be doing this fall, either this month or next month, is a prescribed burn of Monomoy Island in the tern colony. And the reason why we're doing that in the tern colony is because every year we have a buildup of beach grass and thatch. Oh, yeah. So the nesting birds, they require open, bare sand to nest in and also to forage in. And we're going to go through a prescribed burn process. You're working with the National Park Service and other agencies to go into this area and actually burn all of that thatch and beach grass off of the area, have a nice open sand nesting habitat for the threatened and endangered species that use it. And I'll also mention, in addition to those special status species, the T&E species, or threatened and endangered, we have the second largest common tern colony on the eastern seaboard.
Yeah, I see plenty of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and there's more than 10,000 in that colony. Wow. So being in those colonies during the thick of it is quite interesting, quite loud too.
They can be kind of aggressive, can't they?
They can be. And if you've seen photos on our website, you'll notice that a lot of our staff wear helmets, and they also wear flags that come up off of their helmets, and that's one way to mitigate the aggressive action and behaviors of those terns.
Okay. You don't think of a bird like that as being kind of really nasty and going after people. They usually flee. But in this case, I guess they're protecting their nests and their chicks.
Yeah, and there's so many of them. I guess we would call it the mob mentality. The birds will, when they attack as a part of a cohesive unit, they're much more effective than attacking alone. So, and they're protecting their young just as any good parent would.
Any good parent. Now, how long will this controlled burn last as far as a good habitat for the birds?
That's a good question. Our last burn, I believe it was 4 years ago. Okay. And so now we're at that time where we have to burn again. So every 4 to 5 years is pretty normal. Although I will mention, if there's a large storm, a hurricane, a nor'easter, that could actually wipe out the beach grass as well, and that could create very positive nesting habitat. The problem in the past, in the last several years anyway, we haven't had storms like that have really gone through that habitat and taken the beach grass out, and that's why we're needing these prescribed burns now to do that.
Wow. With all the storms we had last year and the year before, you would think that all that would be gone.
And part of the issue now is we have, as everyone knows, the coastal system is very dynamic. And so we're having a lot more sand, it's called longshore drift, coming up from the north of Cape Cod and being deposited here on Monomoy. When that happens, it's actually working to protect the tern colony to actually make it less dynamic of a system and have more beach grass grow up. So if it was more exposed to the elements, if there wasn't that extra layer of sand there, then maybe on a yearly basis we'd have overwash like we once had. But now it requires burning to keep it open until another storm comes through and changes the whole game.
Well, that reminds me, we had this beautiful photograph behind us, and I guess this is what you're talking about right here with this teardrop shape as this sand drifts down the coast and then it gets deposited here?
Right. The sand is drifting from north to south, but I'm specifically talking about this tern colony right here.
Okay.
And this is where we're having our terns nest. So you might remember, this right here used to be an inlet. This was called the Southway.
Right.
Of course, now this part of South Beach, Chatham, is connected to Monomoy.
Okay.
And this wasn't always the case. So when this was exposed and open, more storms were able to impact this tern colony.
Okay.
Which is, they can't do that now because it's protected by that sand.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Now, besides humans who go to the island to enjoy recreational situations, what are the problems that the birds have as far as predators are concerned? I mean, there's coyotes and hawks. And
That's right. Yeah, they face a lot of problems, and those are the two main ones that you just mentioned.
Okay.
In fact, there's quite a few coyotes that do inhabit these islands, and especially when these islands are connected to the mainland, we have more and more coyotes that come down and predate our nesting birds. And so that is the main one, is coyotes. There's other species as well. Birds of prey, hawks that will also predate. And there's even in gulls. We have a problem with gulls here as well. Gulls will certainly go into the colonies, and they will take chicks and eggs as well.
Oh, man. Yeah. So it's a tough road for these birds.
It is. It takes a lot for them to make it in the world. And the chances are not very high, but at least on Monomoy, we're providing them with an important refuge that's free of human disturbance and also free of a lot of the extra predation pressures that you might see on the mainland. And a lot of that is because of human waste facilities, for example, dumpsters, things that attract commensal species. And by commensal, I mean species that do well around human habitation.
Like
coyotes is one of them, raccoons is one of them, herring gulls for sure. So Monomoy being a wilderness area where there's no roads, there's no permanent structures, is a really important place for these birds to nest.
Now that you're here at Monomoy, what do you feel is your biggest challenge here, besides preserving this and nesting birds and all that?
I guess one large challenge that we have is allowing people to appreciate this refuge. It's a difficult place to get to. Of course, it requires a boat to get out there. So if someone would like to recreate, to bird watch, to go fishing, for example, they would need their own private vessel.
Okay.
It's very difficult to get people out there and to appreciate this island. And that's one thing I would like to do, to have these wildlife-dependent forms of recreation, and that would include kayaking, that would include fishing, that would include hiking, that would include these sorts of things that we can really get the public interested in what we're doing and get them out to the island and actually see what we're doing without negatively impacting the resource. And that's a pretty big challenge. It's tough to find not only the islands of Monomoy, but Morris Island here, where we are today, is our visitor center.
Yeah, right.
It's difficult even to get here, and many people just don't know that it exists. So I think once we have more public, more volunteers, we can have more of an appreciation for this place. And I think people would really enjoy seeing what we have to offer here.
Tell me about the volunteers. I mean, how can a person volunteer to help out here at the refuge?
Well, that's a great question. We have volunteers who staff our visitor center. We have volunteers that assist with our tern monitoring activities, for example, a whole host of biological activities, including horseshoe crab tagging and resighting. They can do maintenance for us. We've had a lot of volunteers who are really crucial in that regard. Okay. We have a staff of 3 permanent full-time people here at Monomoy. So we rely on volunteers for everything, whether it's repairing fence or counting birds. We could use the help here for sure.
Okay, Matt, how can schools get involved in helping? Because I know students, teenagers, even younger kids would love to do this sort of thing.
It's true, and especially nowadays, a lot of teenagers are pretty involved in their electronics, and they don't get out as much as they'd like to. So we would love to get students out here. In fact, we just hosted an event in September. We had a number of students from Sturgis School in Hyannis come here and help us out with trail maintenance, actually, and they had a great time doing that. We would love to partner with local schools here in Chatham and Harwich and on this part of the Cape to get more students out here, and we can have them doing everything from some of our biological inventory work to trail maintenance and other things like I mentioned. So definitely important and very much on our radar to get young people out here and appreciate this refuge.
That's great. And time-wise, you can volunteer for an hour or 5 days. It doesn't matter.
There's no commitment. Just show up here, let us know you're coming, and we can find something for you and make use out of you.
There's always something to do.
There's always something to do. There's never a shortage.
Okay. Well, Matt, I want to thank you very much for your time and the information you gave us. And we here at Chatham today and the community of Chatham wish you all the luck in making Monomoy a great place.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Bye-bye.